Hey, Mark Warnke, the Goat Guy. So I had a thought and I just needed to share. I am driving out to a mountain to get signal. I'm in a remote bear camp and I'm hunting with some clients that are now becoming friends. And I'm really struck with some thoughts and kind of want to share those with you because when I choose to be in a setting with acquaintances, and here's what basically is the topic of what I'm going to speak about, is I want to challenge your belief that you can be and have intimate interactions, meaning a true and honest effulgence of yourself and who you are, and somebody else can, without years and years of relationship. Now, oversharing is a legitimate thing, so that's not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is having the opportunity to sit down and to get to know somebody. And I find humans so curious in how all of us choose to lean into life, because almost all of us have similar struggles with different stories, you know, whatever they are: financial, marital, spousal, parental, professional. All those kind of lineages have a liturgy of struggles that we can all in some ways relate to. But the interesting part is human beings attack those from different areas, and there's nuances to every attack plan that we could all learn from. And so I really, when I get new people around me that I have an opportunity to really get to know, I love asking big questions, but I also love creating an environment that feels safe enough for people who normally wouldn't do that, which is most people, quickly. And in some ways I'm encouraging you to think about the value of that and what that might be for yourself. And what people, because I've studied human interaction in both one-on-one and presentation platforms, so like speaking to large groups, I think one of my greatest gifts is the ability to create intimacy in its acquaintanceship form, because there's different levels of intimacy, but you can have an intimate conversation with an acquaintance. And that's what I want to speak about today, because when you have the ability to authentically share with somebody, more people, number one is you become more clearer about, as you tell your story about those components, about where your battle lines lay and what's working and what's not. And you get basically kind of a review board in terms of not their opinion, but you get to hear yourself tell the story. And when you're authentic about it, you get to really notice the things that you're not so good at and the things that you're great at. And there's really a learning process there. Also, because of my years in Alcoholics Anonymous and sitting in a room of people who I shared similar struggles with, and hearing them talk about how they overcame struggles or things that they're battling and how they look at them, I got a chance to cross-learn from their experience. And it was really, really profoundly valuable for my evolution. And so my encouragement to you is to realize, number one is having intimate conversations, meaning talking about things that are bigger than the weather, that are deeply, you know, when you struggle, like asking somebody a question, you know, do you resolve conflict well with your spouse? That's a super fucking interesting conversation to have with somebody. But without the right setup, that's a very difficult conversation to have. It's not like you can ask somebody of that in their first 5 minutes. And so, number one, I'm going to encourage you to have those types of conversations that I think they're going to be valuable for you and valuable for the other person, but also valuable for humanity. If we're supposed to be here and bouncing off one another to learn and grow and become more kind, loving, patient, and grateful, then we get a chance to have kind of that platform in that conversation. If we individually choose that's where we come from, it's really interesting how I've really changed my life to be from that place. It is contagious, and the contagiousness of love, kindness, and gratitude is super beautiful. And if it's shared in an intimate interaction in any setting, I mean, for frick's sakes, I'm in bear camp with bear hunters in the backcountry, dirty, stinky, and we are trying to harvest life and it's a very male setting. And we are talking very in depth about family and courage and real things, because that's how I do things, and it's set the setting to be that. And these guys were receptive to that part. I actually have 3 very different personalities in camp, and all the level of divulgence of stuff has been really beautiful, and I've learned a ton from it. And so I would encourage you to do that. So how? So just know that from my years in doing the presenting and creating that environment on a professional level, the way to do that is to first divulge of yourself and to share a vulnerable place. And so when you can share about a struggle that you have and be really authentic in speaking about both the things that you don't do well and you do well, without this bullshit false humility stuff that people want to talk about and say is this cultural accepted norm. If you're awesome at something, own that awesomeness. Be okay with being awesome at something. That's not being cocky or egocentric. That is recognizing what you're truly good at, as well as you should recognize what you struggle with and overcoming that, and acknowledging just the place of that, without the ego that says you're good, bad, or indifferent. It just is. And so own that. But also, when you share that in that context, then you really open the door for the other person to feel safe to share in something vulnerable. And then the beautiful part is it steps down. So if you want those kind of interactions for yourself and you find humans interesting, the fastest way is to share in a personal way with somebody, and then that opens the door for them to feel confident to share in that same personal way. And by the way, I'd also challenge you to believe or question your belief, and I'm not sure quite where this came from, that we should only reserve intimate conversation, real conversation, for people that are in our close circle, that we've built this trust mechanism with, that make us feel safe more easily to have those style of conversations. Why is it only our spouse and our kids, maybe one significant friend, and maybe, a couple people truly know our soft spots? I don't think that's how God intended it. I don't think that's what he meant it for it to be. I think God meant it to be that we shared in an open way about that, because and I guess you would have to disagree with this premise to disagree, but I believe that we're here in this human experience to become better, to evolve. And where are we trying to evolve? Well, hopefully it's evolved in the things that are the simple core elements: kindness, love, gratitude, community mindedness, generosity, patience. It's really easy to list off the things we aspire to be like. So why don't we spend more time doing that? And if we're trying to become that, then speaking openly about it is a part of the process in seeing how other people succeed and have overcome, is a part of the discovery process, that we then go, wow, that might work for me because it worked for them. And I do think it happens I think your greatest teacher could be your garbage man if you took a second and got to know them. And I'm not suggesting that you go do that with every person you meet. You pick your opportunities when you have, periods of time where you're really going to be able to visit with people. And it's one of the things about the outdoors that I would also encourage you to do, is that the outdoors and sitting around a campfire provide you hours and hours of opportunity of quiet conversation without distraction of a phone going off or those sorts of things. And those opportunities are getting less. And I believe that's not an intentional way that we're supposed to be leading our lives. I think we're living in an extremely unintentional, non-human, evolutionary, fertilizing environment. That's a stupid way to say it, but we're living in a way that we've chosen to wrap ourselves in conveniences. We've chosen to wrap ourselves in comfort. And by doing that, we've cut the head off of some of the most beautiful parts of humanity that teach us the most. And being uncomfortable teaches us. Being with long periods of time to talk in an intimate manner with somebody that we may have met and relate to teaches us and helps us. And So I would encourage you to do a couple of things. Get in the outdoors with a stranger, somebody, a couple friend, you and your, that you can get an opportunity to sit down with and really talk with. Get the outside quiet so that the inside can have a chance to speak. And I think that you'll be really amazed at how your heart feels and how your spirit feels, because I do believe our inner piece of us, that's a piece of God, that's all-knowing, all-loving, all-kind, our spirit celebrates and sings when we choose to invest in our own evolution. And so intentionally, I would encourage you to, take some of these things and think about how they might apply for you. So I hope you have a awesome day. And I'm so encouraged and full of love and gratitude and grateful for you. And, I'm the silly goat guy out here in Boise, Idaho. And, I'm just on my walk and choosing to share that with you. And I hope you either find that helpful or whatever it is. So hope you have a rad day.